Hey guys, welcome back to Hard Hats and Hard Roads. I'm your host, Gabe Moose, and this is our wonderful co host, local psychologist Amanda Unsworth. In today's episode, we sit down with Chad Kennedy with From C to C for PTSD. Chad shares his incredible journey with the story behind their mission and to support veterans and first responders living with PTSD. We'll dive into the challenges, triumphs, and power of community that fuels their work. So stick around. This is a conversation you're not going to want to miss. So today, we're going to start asking you some questions. Could you start by sharing a bit about your background as a Canadian Armed Forces veteran and an Alberta Highway Sheriff? What inspired you to choose those careers?
The Armed Forces career, um, back in the day, I was kind of given an option by my amazing dad. Was either join the army or quit wasting my tax dollars by going to school and just hanging around. So, yeah, I kind of got my ass kicked in that direction. But when I thought of things in a serious manner, um, I actually did drop out of grade 12 and I went to the Canadian Armed Forces, thinking, well, that would help me along my law enforcement career path. Um, Unfortunately, uh, so that was back in 91. In 92, I had really up my legs, and it was at that point in time the Canadian Armed Forces were doing cutbacks, so I took an honorable discharge. And then played around in a whole bunch of different jobs over the course of a bunch of years in hospitality. Like, man, I did drywalling, um, yeah, just sort of everything. I was in the oil and gas field for a bit, and 2004 finally introduced myself into the world of law enforcement through victim services. And then into the auxiliary policing program with the RCMP in Fort McMurray, and things just sort of grew from there. I was asked to apply for a position as a community peace officer in Fort McMurray, and then that opened the doors for the Alberta Sheriff Highway Patrol. Um, so that, it goes right back to uh, who do I look up to in life. At that time, it was my dad. I still do. He's still with us, who was a member of the RCMP. But more so, it's like so many of us in the public safety profession or armed forces, it's about helping other people. Um, and thankfully, I'm still here to share that portion of my story with y'all. So that's it. It's just to help other human beings.
100%. And I hear you do a great job at it. We'll get into that a little later, but I'm really thankful that you got into those positions because I hear it's a really tough job. And so, what I want to know is how do the armed forces and sheriff department differ in their approaches to mental health? Do you feel?
Uh, I think that's a really solid question. When I went through basic training back in the day, um, the pep talk that we had was take everything with a grain of salt, um, and just suck it up. We're gonna bust you down. We're gonna build you back up. So there wasn't much in the world of mental health, and even, I mean, 91 isn't all that long ago. Um, like, to talk about feelings, emotions, what you're going through, was just taboo. If you had to go for a good cry, you go into the common area, lock yourself in a bathroom stall, and have a cry. Uh, so, I mean, the changes nowadays, I'm not a part of, though. The help I've gotten through Veterans Affairs Canada, the mental health programs, and what they've done for me is uh, to me amazing. I think everybody's got their opinion. Unfortunately, uh, the the sheriffs, when I was with the program, it's been shit. I just hit my 4 year anniversary of my last shift worked, but there was no real mental health help. I don't know where that stands today. I hear little dark secrets. I hear good secrets, but who's talking about mental health in the Alberta Sheriffs? I don't know. I know how I was treated. I know how some others were treated, and basically we're a number. You hear that a lot. As a person, I feel we didn't have the help, and where they've come now, I truly don't know. But I think that's a huge part of our mission is not just working with agencies to build up mental health programs. It's trying to get it legislated that there will be mental health programs. There will be the help. Not this, we're going to give you a random phone number and uh, some counselor that is not educated in trauma is going to give you a call, or you call them and ask for help. That doesn't cut it. You feel more alone, and you see how the system is really broken, and you really understand why other people that were or wear my uniform don't ask for help, because it's a scary, crummy place with no professional help.
Yeah, I hear you say that. I hear you. I think about my profession and how we don't have like service years usually. We're counselors. I counsel. I do that. But I've never been in the armed services. I've never been in the RCMP or in the sheriff's department. And those systems, they have a culture to them that like any other culture that I would be respectful of in counseling, that I don't understand. And you're right. When you make that phone call to that counselor, the chances that they understand that culture, um, it's probably not that high, and that is disappointing.
It's and with all due respect, the clinicians nowadays that are being educated in the trauma field, like the traumas we face, um, is amazing. I've been so fortunate to have uh, so many, and it sounds weird, but I've had so many amazing clinicians enter my life over the past 4.5 years. Um, you know, it's been cool. I haven't had one psychologist. I've had teams, and it's amazing, and the understanding, even though they've never walked in our shoes. But how do we get through it as a team? Man, I am so thankful for where we're at today and how we keep expanding in the psych world. It's really fascinating to be a part of the growth and the journey, and the clinicians I know personally. Um, yeah, hats off to y'all. Thank you.
No, I if it could be mandatory to maybe get help straight out of training would be the goal, I think.
You know what? It shouldn't even be mandatory because it shouldn't even be a thing you have to do. It should be a thing you want to do. And it shouldn't be that you have to get help. It should be like, here's how to have mental health instead of mental unwell, and then achieve mental health again. It could be just built in.
It should be built into our training. You know, none of this, let's open up a first aid book when we're taking first aid and we have a little blurb about mental health in there. It's people that have been in the field, um, talking to the people who are about to enter the field and telling you how it is. And here's how to ask for help. Here is a safe place to come ask for help where nobody's going to judge you. Um, I know with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and I know a few uh, PSP agencies in Saskatchewan are working with SIPCERT. More importantly, well, not more importantly, Dr. Nick Carlton in Saskatchewan. What they're introducing into the RCMP and the constant follow ups from the recruit level and out into the field, um, like it's there. And the only hope is that every agency across this country, and no matter what part of the public safety profession you enter or what branch of the armed forces you enter, that is going to be there for us. To me, that's, um, in the first responder world, there's so much we're reactive. Well, some places they really promote let's be proactive. So Sipsert's approach, Nick Carleton's approach, is amazing, and to see our national police force accept this and work with their members, and like every agency, when we hear of suicide, it's like, how did this happen? The stone cold face, I'm a robot and I'm programmed to just not care. But we bottle all of that stuff up inside to the tipping point, and now we deal with suicide. And the higher ups are always asking, why is this happening? Well, man, I'm not the most educated person in the world, but I'll tell you what is going on. That word stigma is everywhere you go when we wear a uniform, and if it's not the public judging us, it's our peers, and that is brutal. And the way we're treated, for a lot of us, and I'm not picking on any specific agency, um, or fire department, hospital, whatever. It's like, shake the stigma. I don't care what rank you are. You're still a human being. You got to have that compassion and take care of your troops. It's that, be a leader, not a manager.
That's right. And honestly, if I was in training and I heard, okay, like, this is what you can do, this is where your safe space is, this is where you can get help, I'd feel so much more confident out to do the job I wanted, knowing
Yeah,
that someone would have my back that way.
it's not brain science to know that we're not designed to see a lot of the stuff that we see. For me, straight on highway patrol, I couldn't tell you what it was like to work in the courts or the prisoner transport section. I went straight into highway patrol, and like Highway 63 to Fort McMurray used to be the highway of death, and it was every set you're going to a really bad collision. Um, you're seeing the worst that can possibly happen to a human body, and more so, a lot of times you're out there before an ambulance gets there. So now you're helpless because you don't have the tools to do your job. You come back to the office. There's no critical incident debrief. There's nobody asking, how are you doing? You just go home, grab a couple beers or some Captain Morgan, and you sit on the couch until you get tired so you can fall asleep and put the demons at bay. So, yeah, that stigma, why aren't we getting together as a crew and saying, hey, this really bugged me? Are you okay?
Also, we don't have to be fine. We can be fabulous.
Yes, we can be fabulous.
Life does not have to be fine.
We can make it better. But that's
Yeah,
by
we can.
getting together and talking and spreading the
Connecting.
word.
Have I said connecting is mental health ever
Connecting
before?
is
I think I
mental
say that every episode.
So you told me you responded to the Columbia Ice Fields bus crash. That experience was a catalyst for you to begin your work in the area for PTSD. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience and how it shaped you today?
Yeah. So we'll backtrack. Like 2 years before the incident, I was, I was going through, I'll call it, anger management issues. Um, I was in a really dark place. Friends would stop talking to me. I was not nice to my spouse, uh, and always hurting her emotionally. Um, it was actually my dad, who's a complex PTSD survivor, warrior, was the one that kicked my ass to go see my doctor. So thankfully, early 2018, I had diagnosis. I knew what was going on. From there, I received some pretty not the right fit for my mental health with the psychologist. I'll be polite, and not their fault. Um, but they didn't understand my trauma. Let's go back to when you were 3 years old. And I'm a survivor of the Wooden Spoon Club. I grew up in the 70s, 80s. Life was life. But that person didn't deal with my trauma. So through medication, shout out to my doctor in Calgary, Dr. Kim, who not just a general practitioner, but somebody that is educated with mental health. So I continued working. I'm like, screw therapy. This is why people don't like going to psychologists. So really didn't know, but I was scared. So I just continued working. Uh, Man, I was, it was my second time being posted to Banff and Lake Louise. So, I mean, I worked in paradise. Busy. I was always busy. It was a great place. Uh, July 18th of 2020, we were doing one of our weekend education blitzes just south of the Jasper National Park boundary. So I was on the Banff side, and we had intercepted a radio communication. Somebody was paying attention. I was out having fun, making friends on the highway. Um, but there were a bunch of ambulances heading towards Lake Louise. Somebody had reported, oh, there's a bus collision up by the ice fields. So one of our members, one of our RCMP members, partners, took off up towards the ice fields, was directed up alongside of the mountain. He was able to get the only message we could get from him, because the reception was so poor, is I need all of you guys up here now. So we shot up as fast as we could to Jasper. We were directed up the side of a mountain. Um, yeah, had no idea what was going on. We get down the road, and I don't know if you've ever taken one of those damn buses. I've never, and I never will even think about it. But these buses, these huge buses on big bouncy tires, go down a 33% grade, which is like looking at a wall. Um, so we got down, saw the bus rolled over on its side, uh, talked to a search and rescue person that became the incident commander. He briefed us, said, when you go to the other side of the bus, it's carnage. I need a triage list done. I'm like, holy. So I'm looking at a friend of mine who's an RCMP member. I'm like, dude, what the is a triage list? Like, that sounds like something off TV. I have no idea. So I asked the guy, like, what do you want done? Well, I just need notes on, you know, green, red, or black, who is in the best shape, who's in the worst shape, and black obviously is deceased. So we knew there were 3 fatalities. Going around to that side of the bus, when I saw the carnage, I broke down and started bawling. Uh, it's tough to put into words. I started bawling and realized that in this moment in time, until we can get fire and EMS up here, I was able to get an off-duty paramedic and an off-duty registered nurse down, like just volunteered. I got them down to the site. Um, but it's that realization that these people at this moment in time need somebody to be strong. Um, I'll be the first to tell you, and I learned years ago, that the uniform I wear does not make me a superhero. I am a human being under that. Um, I helped the best I could. I was running up and down the side of a mountain, getting uh, safety blankets to cover up those in shock. We had the folks at the Clubby Ice Fields Interpretive Center were bringing cases of water. So I was tasked. And eventually, I was asked to head down to the Interpretive Center and set up a staging area for ground ambulances that would be arriving, and for STARS. And for anybody from STARS that may be listening, man, so amazing. We had 3 helicopters come in, one from Calgary, one from Edmonton, and the one from Grand Prairie came in. But it was, when I started, I had to walk up this 33% grade to get back to my patrol car. So, hour and 22 minutes. I will always remember that. An hour and 22 minutes before I heard any other sirens coming to help. I'm like, it felt like an eternity. When you don't have the tools to do your job, waiting for help to arrive and feeling helpless, it was, to me, a godsend. And Anyway, so I did get tasked with doing my setup for the ambulances, clearing a parking lot, helping people evacuate the parking lots, help with the staff there. And obviously, you're flagged with a lot of questions and questions you can't answer. You would like to, you just can't. So from there, it's I called my manager, said, "Look, this is what's going on. It's on the national news right now, like or international news." So the kind person that he was, well, we'll let you stay in Lake Louise for the night. Just come back to base in Calgary tomorrow. I'm like, okay. So it's the worst thing is I didn't have a change of clothes, so I am coated in uh, who knows what fluid wise, and dust and dirt. But the hotel staff really stepped up and took care of us, knowing that we were there. The Monday morning, when I returned to work, um, I was asked by this manager, "How are you doing?" I said, "Usually at work, because I love my job, the answer is always 100%. I'm excited." That day is like, uh, definitely not 100%, man. This is not good. Now, the one good thing that came from this is I was told that the RCMP had invited us to a critical incident debrief from that event. It's not something my department did. This is what the Royal Canadian Mounted Police did for the two of us sheriffs that were at this event. But it was a call from a counselor. I don't like just some random person on the other end of the phone. I like, this is useless. You know nothing about what's going on. I basically hung up on the poor person. Um, and then I was uh, interviewed right off the hop by our I think it was called the Blue and Gold Sheriff magazine. I was interviewed, and then it was like, who do you want to nominate for awards or medals for going up to this event? It was just one thing after another. So I had all of this on my plate, and then went on vacation uh, at that time with my fiance and her family for 2 weeks. So being able to open up about what I saw that day, July 18th of 2020, Columbia Ice Fields, was tough. I had people telling me, "Oh, it's really cool you were there," and your reaction, like you wanna punch people in the throat. What is wrong with you thinking that is cool? This isn't Hollywood. Yeah, it's and when I reflect back on that, I think people just don't know how to react to um, to a situation. To them, it's uh, hey, I know somebody that was actually there. So that's kind of cool. It's like meeting Gabe for the first time. Like, Gabe's a celebrity. And I'm like, he is a hero. Um, uh, it's when you meet somebody for the first time that has inspired you along your journey, it's like, that's cool. How do we get here? It wasn't so cool. It was a rough ride.
No, I really appreciate like you're such a pro at speaking. Like I know you're very open and you're excited to help other people and it's amazing, but I do acknowledge that it is tough to talk about and thank you very much for being here. From the bus crash and going through like you kept going through stuff after the incident. You didn't really have time to just absorb what happened. Hey, how did you deal with the psychological impacts? Like what happened?
So 2 weeks of not being able to process. I can tell you most of that time, like I wasn't sleeping. Um, Maybe an hour or two a night, and when I can find the time to sneak away um, from family and have a nap. But really, it wasn't napping. It was just it's that the most dangerous place we can go. I just want a dark, quiet place. You learn in your healing that is the worst place you can be because the little demons come out and dance around, and give you really messed up thoughts. So August 2nd, 2020, like 2 weeks after this event, It was Sunday, Sunday or Saturday. We got back from camping, and something, uh, to most people, the smallest thing in the world, set me off as I was unloading our truck. Um, and I snapped. I lost my. I don't know if I've ever found my marbles. Anyways, if I had marbles, I lost them that day. Uh, yeah, I found myself in a very bad place. My then spouse, oh man, bless her. She's thankfully we still communicate nowadays. Um, she wasn't understanding what was going on, and it was to the point where I'm sick and tired of giving you a moment, and that's all I'd ever ask. And I think when those words hit you when you're dealing with mental health, just the impact of that phrase, I'm sick of giving you a moment, it clicks. I after 4.5 years of processing, I understand what she meant versus how I took it. Anyways, we had an argument. I scoped out the backyard. I'm like, I got a lot of firewood to burn. Got my fire pit. I went over to the liquor store, got a 60 of my friend the captain. And just so you know, officially, me and the captain are still friends today. But he took me down. Gabe, if you're not understanding, that's Captain Morgan.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Just yeah, I sat around the fire and had the keys to my truck in my hand, and I had my plan. As a highway patrol guy, you can be pretty freaking creative on how to end things real quick. Um, and it's that split second, literally a split second in time. All I could picture in my head uh, was my mom and dad, and my dad going through his CPTSD journey, and all the hell he went through. My mom, for God bless her, staying at his side through this whole journey. Um, I'd be letting my dad down. And what can I do to raise awareness of PTSD and start conversations about mental health? How do I find myself um, and deal with things? I was afraid for the psychological help, so in a drunken stupor, I had posted on a first responder site that, hey, and my own page, hey, I'm going to walk the country to raise awareness, and didn't give a about the repercussions, what would happen, who was going to be pissed off at me. The next day, I woke up and I was questioned pretty harshly, like interrogated in the living room. Hey, so you're walking the country. Why didn't I know about this? I said, well, it was literally last second. I wasn't going to go into details on how I was to die by suicide. Um, and a very good response on her part was, it's just on social media. If you take that down, nobody's going to care. And I'm like, wait a minute. If I take that down, I'm not holding myself accountable to something I had told myself. Drunk or not, I'm going to hold myself accountable. So from that stage, I still continued to work. Scared a lot of times, anxiety. I was looking for quieter places to hide on the highway. I think it was 2 weeks before Christmas in 2020. There was a single vehicle rollover, literally like 12 seconds away from me that I avoided going to. I'm like, nah, the RCMP are on their way, even though they're 15 minutes away. They're on their way. I'm just going to keep writing tickets and avoid that. And then eventually, yeah, I got to go to this. Avoidance. I was scared. Right after that situation, I had talked to my sergeant, said, I think I'm becoming complacent. Can I change patrol areas? So that happened. January 1st, I was down in the High River area. Beautiful section of highway on Highway 22 down this way. Was having a lot of fun. And then, bam, February 3rd, 2021. It was a night shift. I was excited. I love night shifts. I don't know why. I think because my lights look cooler at nighttime. And there's, yeah, different activity going on the highways. But I got to my patrol car and threw my duty bag in, and I stood there. I froze. I broke down. Every hair on my body stood on end, and I was afraid to go to work. I messaged my sergeant and said, like, something's not right. And thankfully, he called me right away and said, "Man, you've got so much going on." So at this point now in February, um, I had split from my fiance. My choice. Hurt like hell, but my choice. He put everything in order. Said, "You have not dealt with that bus crash. You announced that you're going to walk the country. Third, you separated from somebody you've been with for 8 years. You need to go talk to your doctor." And thankfully I did. 2 days later, I went to see Dr. Kim and took me off work indefinitely. Uh, a lady that I worked with in our Calgary office, unbeknownst to me, she started the paperwork for WCB once she saw my doctor's note and got the ball rolling. And I know there's so many negative stories out there about WCB, and that's all we hear. We never hear the good. Uh, we never hear the good stories. We never promote the good stories. It's like having a bad experience at a restaurant, right? Oh yeah, right. And it's that will carry on in waves and waves and waves. The positive stories just stop right here. So I WCB had asked me uh, a magical question. Um, what can we do to help? And I said, if I'm going down that psychological path, I need somebody who is trauma informed as a psychologist. And thankfully, for myself, to make the decision by June of 2021, I'm not going back to that world. I'd love to be a facilitator or an instructor for the staff college, but there's no way I can go back to something that hurt me so bad and expect myself to survive a career. I always thought it was the psychologists and the therapists that were making me better, but it's not. They were so good in explaining to me. They're the coaches. I'm the quarterback. You know, all they can do is give me tools and exercises, and it you got to make the play. And if the people that go through it half-ass and don't believe in the process, don't want to be there and not give it a chance, I think, man, you're missing out on your second life. I'm always asking myself, what can I do to help others? And these daily blogs I do, and for a minute and a half every morning, I'm just going to say how it is. I don't sugarcoat. I'm never going to tell you the healing journey is easy or pleasant. When people ask about the Columbia Icefields incident, um, I'll tell you this: as horrible as that situation, that moment in time was, so horrible. So many families were impacted. So many people. It's horrible. But if it wasn't for that moment in time, I would not be where I'm at today. So grateful that I was able to help those who needed help that day. It left a lot of scars on me and in me, and but I'm here to tell the story. I'm here to start a critical conversation with somebody who may need that, and remind them that they're not alone. It's and it doesn't matter as the campaign has grown. I have met people from all walks of life who have been traumatized in different ways. I'll tell you, trauma is trauma is trauma. It's not a competition. People have been through some serious stuff and it's traumatized them. So, different stories, but the outcome's the same. We have been scarred. We have been hurt. We're survivors. So how do we communicate together, hang together, work together? Um, and you realize in life, there's friends and then there's friends. Your friends will quickly walk away from you. That's okay. You were never a friend. Um, we were an acquaintance and we had fun having beers together or working together. But your friends will remain at your side. Your friends will encourage you. Your friends will ask you for help. And of all the people I've met, there's friends that ask me, "Oh, what do you do when you're walking the highway and somebody joins you?" Man, I'm talking about football. I'm talking about camping. I'm talking about fishing. Um, we are connected at that moment in time because of a trauma. We're not talking about the grotesque portions. We know why we're in that moment in time, and that is why we connected. And I've met people right across this amazing country, and so many of them, we're still friends. It doesn't matter where I go in this country. I know I have a friend, and if I'm feeling down, they're going to pick me up, and vice versa. So it's magic. And
Oh,
I
and
probably went way off topic from the bus thing to where I'm
no,
at now.
honestly, you're on point with like the next two questions I was gonna ask. You answered, so we're good to go, Chad. You're awesome.
Yes.
um, so it's safe to say that the unfortunate incident in Banff and Lake Louise was a domino effect to who you are today. In
Yes.
it has its negatives but positives too.
Yeah.
And that brought you to walk the country. So you have C to C for PTSD, and that's actually where we met. Was at the fundraiser for that, and that was an amazing night. And you actually invited me to walk with other first responders in uniform and all sorts of unique people in the community. It was I had goosebumps. It was amazing.
It's always
I could
fun.
see the difference it would make you going to different communities and bringing this awareness, because it's gonna bring people in and they're gonna heal, and that's gonna affect the community, and it's gonna affect their homes, and it's gonna affect their everyday life, and that's the goal. It's such an ambitious goal that you had to start walking the country. How did you prepare physically and mentally for such a big journey?
Oh, man. So, yeah, August 9th of 2020, I went, so a week after um, I chose not to die, I went for a walk. And I'm going to go out and walk 10 kilometers. Let me tell you, it doesn't sound like a lot. I walked some loop. I was exhausted. I went back and I said I didn't know these apps on my phone. I didn't have a watch to track stuff. I figured, oh, yeah, it's got to be 10 kilometers. So I took my truck out, went for a drive around my route. I'm like, it was only 8.1 kilometers, but I did it. My feet hurt like, and so for the first 3 days, probably the most painful days of my life. I didn't realize that walking would hurt so much. Um, but from there, it became. I think when you can stop and smell the flowers, if we drive through our neighborhood in our vehicle, we're destination driving. We know where the stop sign is, we know where the yield sign is, we know where we live. Who you don't notice what's going on in the neighborhood, but once you start walking through the neighborhood, even though you've driven through it 1,000 times, you're like, oh, I never noticed that. And then after moving from that neighborhood to another part of Calgary, I had an amazing trail system, and I always knew it's like, okay, I can do my 7 kilometer walk, my 14 and a half kilometer walk, or my 21 kilometer walk, and it didn't matter um, what the elements were like outside. Like I think like any of us in any walk of life, prepare for the worst, right? And so I'm like, I don't know what the weather's going to bring uh, along the trail. So I was out there minus 38, minus 40. I know it sounds ridiculous, um, but you do it, and it sucks. It was miserable, but the payoff is there. Psychologically, I didn't. There was no real preparing on my side for that. I was doing my weekly visits with my psychologist. Um, and then, like, a couple months before I actually stepped off, I went to the Newley Institute in Calgary, where I had this amazing team of uh, therapists and clinicians. I think the common goal going to the Newley for 2 months, let me tell you, like, we're talking 6 to 9 sessions of stuff a week, because I only had 2 months before the walk, so it was a challenge for all of us. But that challenge was to get me um, mentally sound for the walk. I had no idea what I would experience, what kind of, what traumas am I going to hear, who am I going to be. I had no idea. I had never walked the country before. Um, so what I found very quickly walking the country is, um, I don't listen to earbuds. I don't listen to music. I don't listen to anything anymore. But the first couple weeks in, when my body started to hurt, um, I would just crank up a good tune in my earbuds, and it's like going to the gym. It's like, oh yeah, I get anger music or something that gets my heart going. I just pump harder, but we're not listening to our body, and we're going to end up hurting ourselves when we don't listen to our body. And people are like, what does that even mean? But you go through your healing process. For those in the public safety sector or military, when those when your spidey senses start tingling, the hair on the back of your neck, listen to that. That is your body responding before your brain can even tell you what is going on. It's such an amazing mechanism. But I stopped listening to earbuds after the first 3 weeks. Realized, like, okay, my feet are hurting. Back then my SI joints were a mess. Like, I've got to stop. And there was no shame in stopping for the day. Like, man, I walked 20, 25 kilometers, and I need a better rest for tomorrow. Not listening to music, I started processing thoughts. So I've got 1,000 thoughts racing through my brain the first hour of the walk every day. So I'll pick one thought and start processing it and spin it into a positive. Why did this happen? There's that obviously radical acceptance. Um, you accept the fact that this happened, but why did it happen? So now I can process in life that everybody I meet, everybody that enters my life, whether good, bad, or indifferent, that is a learning thing. I've learned something from somebody. And it wasn't until I reached Ottawa, summer of 2022, that it dawned on me what my purpose is. And it sounds really corny. My purpose is to help other people. And whether that's, giving a hand to pick them up off the ground, or to help somebody that asks for help in the community, or to just be there, be present, because they haven't been able to speak, and you create that safe space for them.
I really want to hear from your point of view, what's the role of the community in your journey? Like, how do people along the way contribute to your cause?
When you can sit with a group of people, as we did in Grand Prairie, like, there's no scripted speech. There's no, you know, I'm sweating my what off before I hit the stage, because I really don't know what I'm going to talk about, and I know it's focused on mental health. But you walk into a community, and for those of us who are veterans or active military or PSP, it's about reminding the community that we are your neighbors. We're in this community. We are the ones that go out at night, keep you safe. We're the ones that are helping you on the side of the highway in a collision. We're coming to your emergencies. We're responding to your emergencies. We are part of the community. Not everybody is always going to be happy with how our first responders respond to scenes. Hey, you know what? We showed up. We showed up to your emergency. So, A, be grateful. B, accept them as your neighbors. They are a part of the community, a giving part of the community. Understand what the culture is in a community, whether it's oil and gas, whether it's agriculture, whatever is we have to understand as human beings that you know the stress and pressure of somebody working in the oil or coal patch or whatever is hard. Mental health is this international epidemic. Thankfully, this generation coming through now and old dogs like myself are starting to speak up about it, um, and try to make mental health just a normal conversation. Yeah, you can walk into a community and just start a conversation about mental health. You know, I can only share my story in the hopes that somebody can stand up and say, "Man, that like he's talking openly."
Yeah,
I'm not
that
talking
like
about
that's me.
you know, the community has people have offered places for us to rest. People have offered food, but the greatest offer of all is the gift of conversation. And man, when you get those super emotional hugs, and Gabe, you know, I'm not a tall guy, so when I get somebody who's 6'5", Mister Firefighter or cop or paramedic or military, you get this emotional bear hug, and it's like, wow, you know, this moment in time, I've helped somebody.
With the emotional bear hugs, I'm assuming you've obviously impacted a lot of first responders, military, and veterans. I bet you have some interesting stories to tell about that. But with someone that's currently struggling with PTSD or feels alone or ashamed to ask for help, what do you recommend they do?
You know, for a lot of people, it's a deep dark secret. Um, they feel ashamed. They're afraid to ask for help because they think it's a sign of weakness. Um, all I've ever offered, like there's, you know, some material that is given to us to take across the country, which can help. I hope, hopefully, it helps when we can pass that information on. A lot of times, it's you know when it's comfortable for that person, um, call me for a coffee. Which you know at 3 o'clock today, I'm going to meet somebody for coffee at Tim Hortons that came to me and asked for help the other day. So um, you know, if I can't help you at the moment, when it's on your terms and you feel comfortable, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, um, and I'll help the best I can. If I don't have the resource that fits, um, I've got resources that I can connect with and find a fit, hopefully, for that person, or at least a phone number, a crisis line. You know, in Canada, we're lucky here. We've got 988. So if it is an emergency, you know, I tell people you call 911 or 988 and we'll get you help.
That's literally what I say at the end of every episode, too.
Nice.
There's always help.
I'm in your head, Gabe. I'm in your
Yeah,
head.
get out.
I like how you describe help though as just like an authentic connection. Just hold the space. People, I think it's going to be this magical thing, or a therapist has the book and we know exactly the steps you have to do to get better. And it's like you go to the doctor and you take this prescription for 10 days and everything clears up. But really, it's just that writing that meaning for yourself. What meaning are you going to make of your experiences, and
Yeah.
and what are you going to do with them? And that's an individual choice. And you have written your story as like, I'm a helper and I'm going to use the things that happen to me to help other people. And that's really cool. And it's not easy. It's so hard. And I always say that to my clients too. Like, you have to pick your hard. It's hard to live with PTSD. You may not. It's a very lethal kind of thing to deal with. And life is hard too. Happy, connected life is also not easy every day. And so you get to pick the hard that you're going to move on now from this experience. And it's really cool, the hard road that you have picked, because connecting across an entire country, let alone Canada being one of the biggest countries, is super duper cool.
Oh, heck yeah. How can people get involved and support the work you're doing, whether it's financially, through participation, or raising awareness?
www.c2c4ptsd.ca, or email me, chad.kennedy@c2c4ptsd.com. any of the major social media platforms, I think LinkedIn, uh, Facebook, Instagram, and I do my recordings on TikTok, so I'm there too. Um, but yeah, just contact me. I always hate asking for money, but it is a necessity, unfortunately, to keep the campaign running across the country. But donations are accepted. Any bit of help. If somebody's got an hour a week to make some phone calls or connect with other communities and let them know we're coming through, that's appreciated too.
Oh, 100%. Any way that anyone can help, just get a hold of Chad. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Chad, I just want to say how much we appreciate having you on today. It's been a really uh it sounds like you've been through hell and back. And it sounds like you're back. So I'm really happy that you're here and really glad that you're making waves in our communities throughout Canada. The conversations do matter. Together, we can break the stigma and make a difference. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who might need to hear it. And if anyone needs immediate assistance, like we talked about earlier, please call 911. And if you need someone to talk to, feel free to call 988. It's an amazing resource, and never be ashamed of wanting to speak.